Welcome class. Today I am just continuing the integrated logistics concepts. As we know, information from and about customers flows through the enterprise in the various forms, in the forms of sales activity, forecast and orders. The information is refined into specific manufacturing and purchasing plans. And also as products and materials are procured, a value-added inventory flow is initiated that ultimately resulting in the ownership of transfer of finished products into customer. So the process is viewed in terms of two interrelated efforts: inventory flow and information flow. So inventory flow relates with the operational management logistics, which is concerned with the movement and storage of materials and the finished products. So logistical operations start with initial shipment of material or component part from a supplier and are finalized when a manufactured or processed product is delivered to a customer. So from the initial purchase of a material or any component, a logical process adds value by moving inventory when and where needed. From the initial purchase of a material or component, the logistical process adds value by moving inventory when and where needed. Providing all things goes well, a material gains value at each step of the transformation into a finished inventory. So in other words, an individual part has greater value after it is incorporated into a machine. So to support manufacturing, work in process inventory must be moved to support the final assembly. So the cost of each component and its movement becomes part of the value added process. So for a large manufacturer, logistical operations may consist of thousands of movements which ultimately culminate the delivery of the products to any kind of industrial user or retailer or the wholesaler, dealer or any kind of customer. So for a large retail, logistical operations may commence with the procurement of products for resale and may terminate with a consumer pickup or delivery. So for a hospital, if you say, logistics starts with the procurement and ends with the full support of patient surgery and recovery. So the significant point here is, it is regardless of the size or the type of the enterprise, logistics is essential and requires continuous management attention. So now I'm just going to provide you certain kind of components which are part of this. The first one, physical distribution. The area of physical distribution concerns movement of a finished product to a customer. So unless a proper assortment of products is efficiently delivered when and where needed, a great deal of the overall marketing effort can be jeopardized. So it is through the physical distribution process which provide a better customer experience and service. So to support the wide variety of marketing systems of different physical distribution system are utilized. Yeah, all the physical distribution system have one common feature. What it is? Yes, you're right. They link the manufacturers, the wholesalers and the retailers into a marketing channels that provide the product availability, which is supposed to be an integral aspect of the overall marketing process. Do you think it is only supporting the marketing? Yes, it is also supporting manufacturing. The area of manufacturing concentrates on managing work-in-process inventory as it flows between the stages of manufacturing. The primary logistical responsibility in manufacturing is to participate in formulating a master production schedule and to arrange for a timely availability of materials, component parts, and work-in-process inventory. So the overall concern of manufacturing support is not how production occurs, but rather what, when, where the product will be manufactured. So manufacturing support has one significant difference when compared with the physical distribution. Physical distribution attempts to service the desires of customers and must accommodate the uncertainty requirements that are under the control of manufacturing enterprise. So the uncertainties normally be introduced by random customer ordering or erratic demand accommodated by physical distribution. So from the viewpoint of the overall planning, the separation of manufacturing support, which is ultimately outbound, and a procurement, which is an inbound activity, which provides opportunities for focusing on the specialization and improved efficiency. Procurement is concerned with purchasing and arranging inbound movement of materials, parts, or finished products, or finished inventory from supplier to manufacturer or to assembly plant or warehouse or even to the retailers. So depending on the situation, the acquisition process is commonly identified by different names. In manufacturing, we call it as purchasing. In government circle or acquisition, or normally we say it is a procurement. And in retailing, if we say it is mostly a buying. Although the differences exist concerning acquisition situations, the term procurement is used here to include all the types of purchasing. So material is used to identify inventory moving up and moving inbound into the enterprise, regardless of the degree of readiness for the resale. So this procurement is concerned with availability of the desired material, assortments, where and when needed. So within a typical enterprise, the three areas of logistics normally be overlapping, viewing each as an integral part of the overall value-adding process. The opportunity to capitalize on the unique attributes of all the three processes, that is inventory flow, manufacturing support, and the procurement support. Now let me start discussing on the inventory flow, information flow. So far we had a discussion on inventory flow. Now I am just presenting you the information flow. It identifies a specific location within a logistical system that have requirements. Information also integrates three operating areas. The primary objective is to plan, execute integrated logistical operations. So within an individual logistic areas, different movement requirements exist with respect to size of the order, availability of the inventory, and urgency of the movement. The primary objective of any information sharing is to reconcile the differentials. So any information requirement parallel to the actual work performed to physical distribution or manufacturing support, or even the procurement, what we discussed in the earlier class. Logistical information involves two major types of flows: coordination flows and operational flows. These are the two important areas. Planning and coordination flow, which talks about the coordination is the backbone of the overall information system architecture among value chain participants. So the coordination results in plans specifying strategic objectives, capacity constraints, logistical requirements, inventory deployment, manufacturing requirement, procurement requirements, and the forecasting. So the primary drivers of the overall value chain are strategic objectives that results from marketing and financial goals, and this strategic objective detail the nature of location of the customer, which are mapped to the required products and services to be performed. The financial aspects of strategic plan detail the resources required to support inventory, receivables, facilities, equipment, and capacity. And what is a capacity constraint we have? We coordinate the internal and the external manufacturing requirements. For manufacturing participants in the value chain, this form of capacity constraint is not required. So within the given strategic objectives, the capacity constraint identify the limitations, barriers, or bottlenecks within the basic manufacturing capabilities and determining the appropriate outsource requirements. Say Kellogg owns the brand and distributes Cracklin Oat brand. All manufacturing is performed by the third party on a contract basis. The result of capacity constraint is a plan that places the strategic objectives in a time phase schedule that details the facility utilization, financial resources, and human requirements. So logistic requirements specify the work the distribution facility, equipment, and labor must perform to implement a capacity plan. So using inputs from the forecasting, or from the promotional scheduling, or from the orders what the customer have made it. And also you need to check the inventory status. The logistics requirements specify the value chain performance. Then inventory deployments, they are interfaces between planning and coordination. An operation that detail the timing and the composition of where the inventory will be positioned. The major concern here in the case of deployment is to balance the timing and the consolidation to create efficiency as inventory flows through the value chain. And it is one of the unique thing, it is that integral part of both planning and coordination and operational flow involved in logistics. So in production situation, if you consider, manufacturing plans are derived from logistical requirements only, and which will end up with, yes, this is what I discussed with you recently, the inventory deployment. The primary deliverable is a time phase, what is required, how to satisfy what kind of production requirement, whether that is available in the inventory or not. That's what we say about here is time-phased inventory requirements. The drivers are master production schedule. We normally call it as MPS, master production scheduling, and manufacturing requirement planning, MRP. So we use two terms here, MPS and MRP. So the deliverable from manufacturing requirement is a day-to-day production schedule that can be used to specify material and component requirement. So all this put together, the procurement material, which has to think of material and components for inbound shipment to support the manufacturing activity. So in retailing and wholesaling situation, what do you mean by procurement here? Which involves maintaining the product what they supply. In manufacturing, we call procurement is always related with inventory, material, component, whatever you're purchasing. In the context of wholesale or retail, the product what you are receiving is, normally we call it as procurement. Now the next concern is forecasting. Normally forecast, which means we thought which will predict the future, but we are using certain kind of historical past data, and of course the current activity level and planning assumptions to predict the future activity level. So logistical forecasting is generally concerned with relatively short-term predictions. The forecast predict periods, sales level for each product, forming the basis of logistic requirement and the operating plan. So the overall purpose of information planning or coordination flow is to integrate a specific, so I'm just giving you this summary of what I discussed with you so far. So we started our discussion with inventory flow, and then we discussed the information flow, under which I've just introduced you two different flow. One is our information planning or coordination flow. The other part is operational requirement. So as of now, I'm completing the overall purpose of information planning or coordination flow is to integrate specific activities within a firm and to facilitate the overall integrated performance and efficiencies and excessive inventory. Planning coordination, that is a vital part of our logistical requirements. So now I'm just moving on to the next aspect of information requirement, which is operational requirement, which is directly concerned with receiving, process, and ship inventory as required to support the customer and the purchase order. So here we are focusing on 5 areas, I hope 6 different components: order management, order processing, distribution operation, inventory management, transportation and shipping, and procurement. I hope we had a detailed discussion about this in the previous class. What is the primary objective activity of order management? To accurate entry and qualification of customer orders. This transfer requirements between value chain participant is typically achieved maybe now with a lot of changes in the ICT, information communication network channels, technologies, which has made us to immediately contact the suppliers, or any other manufacturer and supplier relationship is now strengthened with the help of our mail communication, WhatsApp, or any kind of social media communication, right? So this will make them clear. What the order processing is doing, it allocates inventory and assigns the responsibility to satisfy the customer requirements. So the traditional approach has been to assign available inventory or plan manufacturing customers based on their predetermined priorities. What is a distribution operation? Which involve the information flows required to facilitate and coordinate the performance within logistics facility. The primary purpose of logistic facility is to provide the material or product assortment to satisfy order requirements. So emphasis here is on a scheduled availability of the desired assortment with minimum duplication or redundancy working effect. That is, a repeated work should not be there. So the key to distribution operation is to store and handle a specific inventory as little as possible, so that while still meeting the customer order requirements, right? And of course, inventory management, we've had a lot of discussion on it, but still I'm just adding points here. Inventory management is concerned with using information to implement the logistic plan as specified. The work of inventory management is to make sure that the overall logistical system has appropriate resources to perform based on the resource planning. That's all. Transportation and shipping, which is directly relates with the movement of the inventory to achieve the efficiency. Of course, it is important to consolidate orders. So every time if you receive and then transfer or go with the transportation, definitely it will be a costly affair. So we need to consolidate orders so as to fully utilize the transportation facility. Because based on ownership transfer often results from transportation and support documentation is required. Then procurement, it is concerned with information necessary to complete the purchase order preparation or modification and release while ensuring the overall supplier compliance. So the overall purpose of operational information is to provide the detailed data required for integrated performance physical distribution, manufacturing support, and procurement operation, whereas the planning and coordination flow provide information concerning the various planning activity. And within the context of information and inventory flow, the managers within an enterprise must achieve some specific objectives to fully exploit logistical competency. So this is what I'd like to make you very clear under the topic integrated logistics. Okay, the next heading, I'm just adding some more objectives related to this integrated logistics context. In terms of logistical system design and the administration, each firm must simultaneously achieve at least 6 different operational objectives. In different contexts, we have studied different objectives. And this is relevant with the basic objectives which needs to be aligned with the integrated logistic. So maybe it could be the quick response or the rapid response, which is concerned with the firm's ability to satisfy the customer service requirement in a timely manner. So information technology has increased the capability to postpone or any kind of logistical operations to the latest possible time and then accomplish the rapid delivery of the required inventory. So this result, with the help of technology, what are we doing is whenever we need a requirement, we can send and communicate to suppliers and you can keep a track of the inventory. So the result is elimination of excessive inventories. It's because earlier, in a traditional way, companies or firms have to acquire, anticipate based on forecasting or anticipating the customer orders. They need to stock various types of inventories, which is a cost for them. So this rapid response capability, which really make the operational emphasis from an anticipatory posture based on forecasting and inventories to respond to customer requirements on a shipment to shipment basis. The second one, variance. Normally whenever we talk about variance is in any unexpected event that disrupt the system performance. So any unplanned activity which disrupt our planned activity, which may be called as a variance. So variance may result from any aspect of logistical operations. Delays in expected time of customer order receipt or unexpected disruption on manufacturing goods arriving, or the goods arrive with damaged at the customer location, or the delivery to an incorrect location. Almost you can add any number of variances, deviations happening at the journey of product from manufacturer to a customer. So all operating areas of logistical system are subject to potential variance. So we need to extend the variance needs to be minimized and the logistical productivity has to be improved. As a result, we may achieve economic operations. Your cost is balanced, your productivity is excellent, efficient, and your delivery is perfect. So this is a perfect combination of all this. And of course, this minimizing the variance is of course supposed to be the overall logistical performance. This is one of the primary objective of our logistical performance. Might be the next one, keeping the minimum inventory level, which we are talking about from the unit 1. We are insisting the need for keeping the less inventory. So because the total commitment in the financial value of inventory is deployed throughout the logistical operation. So whatever the increase in the inventory, which immediately reflects the logistical operation, whatever in terms of finance, in terms of the speed within which we are satisfying the requirement of a customer. So what is required here? The reality of re-engineering a system is that the operational defects do not become apparent until the inventories are reduced to their lowest possible level. So while the goal of eliminating all the inventory is attractive, it is important to remember that inventory can and does facilitate some important benefits in the logistical system. So inventory can provide, facilitate maybe a return on investment. That's what I'm just connecting the financial aspect. When they result in economies of scale in terms of manufacturing aspect and provide a better quality product at a very reduced cost in the context of customer aspects. So the objective here is to reduce and manage the inventory to the related with the objective is mainly to reduce and manage the inventory to the lowest possible level while simultaneously achieving the desired operating objectives, right? We go to the next important objective is consolidation. One of the significant logistical cost is a transportation, which I have told you. Transportation costs are directly related to the type of the product we are using, the size of the shipment, and the distance from where it starts and from where it ends. So many logistical systems that feature the premium service depend on high-speed, small shipment transportation. So when you go for small size with high speed, we normally call it as a premium transportation, is typically which involves higher cost. So to reduce the transportation cost, it is desirable to achieve the concept called a movement consolidation. That is, within a track, how much can be loaded together. So the transportation is common. So a general rule, the larger the overall shipment, the longer the distance is transported, the lowest transportation cost. So when you want to cover the larger distance with a large proportion of the materials, it will end up with lower cost. So that kind of programs must be facilitated by integrating the overall logistics as well as the supply chain. Next one, of course, seeking a continuous quality improvement. So total quality management has become a major commitment throughout all the phases of the industry. If a product becomes defective or service promises are not kept, value is added by the logistics. So logistical cost, so when the product is not delivered, you're promising that I will make the delivery tomorrow. That promise is really, in a real sense, if you say it adds value to the customer service, in the sense, in the other sense, it adds cost to the entire logistical operation. When quality fails, the logistical performance need to be reversed and repeated. So logistic itself must perform to demanding the quality standard. So the management challenge of achieving zero defect logistical performance is magnified by the fact that most of the order logistical work is performed out of a supervisor's vision. So reworking of customer order as a result of incorrect shipment or any kind of in-transit damage is far more costly than performing it at the right time at the first time. I'll repeat it here. Reworking a customer's performance order as a result of incorrect shipment or in-transit damage is far more costly than performing it right the first time. So logistics is a prime part of developing and maintaining a continuous quality improvement. So these are all the objectives related to the integrated logistics, which I'm just specifying. Now I'm just going to discuss with you the next topic, the barriers to internal integration. Actually, organization do not implement any internal logistical integration in a vacuum. It is important to recognize obstacles or barriers that often serve to inhibit the internal process integration. Integration barriers originate in traditional practices related to might be the structure of the organization, the measurement system, the inventory works, ownership, information technology, and knowledge transfer capability. So let me start the discussion on each of the barriers. First one would be the traditional organization structure. The traditional organization structure for conducting business prevents any cross-functional process from being implemented. Most traditional organizations are structured to divide authority and responsibility according to a functional work. In essence, both structure and the budget closely follow the work to be performed. The traditional practice is to assemble all the persons related to performing activities into a functional department, which you note already: inventory control department, warehousing operations, transportation separately. So each of these organizations becomes concerned with achieving its own functional excellence. So the goal of integration is to cooperation among all the functional areas, so that the formal organization structure would be a right success. So popular terms, normally we say the sandbox or silo mentality. This is what they call it as, sandbox or silo mentality. The general belief that superior performance, what is the general belief? All the functions which are extremely executed would combine to create the overall superior performance. But when you integrate all the departments, definitely we may end up with a lot of issues. So that is the first point. The second one, measurement system. So we earlier had a traditional measurement system, have also made cross-functional coordination. So more measurement system mirror the organization structure. That is, when you have more layers, so when you want to communicate anything, when you want to send anything, when you get any kind of quick decision making, which is not possible in the traditional system. So managers must be encouraged to view their specific functions as a standalone function. Enough decentralized decision-making power should be given, authority should be given, communication flow must be in both ways. All this makes a perfect measurement system process in the organization. Then we talk about the inventory ownership. It's a fact that inventory can help a specific function achieve its mission. The traditional approach, inventory ownership is to maintain adequate supply, right? So comfort and kind of protect against demand and operational uncertainty. So the available of inventory can support a long manufacturer. Suppose, for example, this kind of inventory can support long manufacturers runs, resulting with minimum economy of scale. So forward, the commitment of inventory to local market also serve to facilitate the sales. While such practices create benefits, they have related with the cost. Okay, these are all some kind of barriers related to our internal integration. The next one, though we talk about information technology as one of the pioneer change which is made in the entire logistical operations, information technology is a key resource to achieve the integration. But similar is to performance measurement, this information system application tend to be designed along with the organization line, which means many databases are limited to specific functions. And as I say, the production man cannot get information from HR. HR man cannot connect with the purchase. So this kind of cross-functional database access is not possible. So but it has to be. That is what we say. If it is there, there is perfect thing. If it is not there, which is going to be a constraint. This is what I'm just making it clear. They need to share information, and which has resulted in the development of data warehouse that exists for the sole purpose to share the information between systems. Until schemes are developed to transfer information, or the existing application can serve as a barrier to process the integration, because of critical data cannot be really readily shared. Then the next one is knowledge transfer capability. Knowledge is a power which we know in most of our business situation. An additional barrier to integration is a limitation in the ability to share the experience. So failure to transfer information or knowledge containment, which will tend to foster the functional orientation by developing a workforce composed of specialists. So the failure to transfer the knowledge from one sector of people to another within an organization. So the failure to transfer of knowledge can also create a barrier to continued integration when an experienced employee retires or for some other reason he is leaving from the firm. So he might be the real contributor in the organization. His knowledge, which has to be shared already when before he leaves from the organization. In many cases, if you look at the issue in the HR angle, replacement of any employee are not available to learn from the experienced worker. The more serious situations is the failure of many firms to develop the procedures or the transfer of knowledge, how different employees, those who are sharing among themselves, what is the problem, how the problem was handled by a group of people, how they've handled the issue, how quickly they'll be able to respond to the issue. So this kind of knowledge sharing forums must be part of the organization, which will provide a better platform for making clear learning or understanding the power of knowledge which exists in the organization. Say the process work often involves many employees. Let it be in case of any sector, let it be in the case of IT sector or healthcare sector or manufacturing sector or educational sector. The process work often involves many employees. And it is not limited to any specific functional area. You cannot say at one point of time, I'm just only restricted my entire work to with the HR alone or purchase alone or productivity alone. Everyone is totally integrated. That's what we say. We are talking about the concept of integrated logistics under our unit 3. So the similar thing, you can apply it in the knowledge here. Transfer of this type of knowledge and the experience of every employee is difficult to standardize, but there are many good firms, those who are keeping different methods of sharing their knowledge through case studies or role play or any other forums, creating a blog, sharing it, or in a social media, whatever way the company is trying to make a kind of keeping an experiential sharing among their employees. So this is what the point I would like to touch on. So with this, I'm just winding up. These are all the various barriers related with. So we talk about knowledge transfer capability, information technology, and the part of inventory also. We also had part of inventory, measurement systems, and organization system structure. So these are all the barriers which will act as a barrier for internal integration of logistics operation. So in today's class, so far, I've started my discussion with integrated logistics concept. And then we started two different types of flow, inventory flow and the information flow. Then I've just provided you with different types of objectives related with how quickly you can integrate the logistics, the varied types of objectives. And then I've just given you an idea on what are all the various barriers which are still existing in the context of internal integration. So I hope this class, this lecture gives you a meaningful idea. Continue to learn. Happy learning. Thank you.